There's a lot more that goes into your marathon training than just ticking the sessions off your plan. What about when it comes to gear? Do I need more than one pair of shoes? What about nutrition? Do I just copy all the other runners out there and just take Morton gels? If you're a runner contemplating signing up for your first marathon or may have recently signed up for your first, worried about what exact gear and nutrition you need to cover your training, don't worry. I was in your position not too long ago. Luckily enough now, have trained and completed 3 marathons. Today, I'm going to share my personal recommendations when it comes to gear and nutrition to get you through a marathon training block, all neatly bundled in a checklist towards the end of the video. Let's get into it. Firstly is investing in a running watch. Now, I personally started with my phone back in 2020 during lockdown when I decided to run a half marathon. But since getting a dedicated running watch, have found it a lot more accurate when it comes to my statistics and running data. Since using the Garmin Forerunner 5.5 for my 3 marathons, have found it such a breeze to access my running data as well as metrics on the Garmin Connect app. It allows me to see if I'm making the right progress that I need to in the areas that I'm working on for that particular marathon, but also if I'm on the edge of potentially pushing myself a little too far and pulling back before injuring myself. And you can see by my example here, it doesn't really need to break the bank. The beauty when it comes to most running watches is they allow you to sync workouts to them. So for instance, if you're doing 4 by mile repeats, you're not having to worry about calculating 1 mile exactly before stopping for a rest. It all does it for you. Next is having a shoe rotation, whether it's your first marathon or your 7th. I believe everyone can benefit from having a dedicated shoe rotation for the marathon. Not only does it extend the longevity of your shoes, it also allows your body to work different muscles. This is due to the varying stiffness and cushioning in the shoes you have in the rotation. I do understand that it can be quite a big initial investment when building your shoe rotation. However, investing in quality running shoes is the most important investment you will make on your running journey. And if you're someone looking to push yourself to the limits and aim for new PBs, would highly recommend investing in a pair of carbon-plated running shoes. For reference, this is my current shoe rotation. For my easy runs, I've got my Asics Nimbus 26, Adidas Supernova Rise, and Puma Magnified Nitro 2s. A majority of my long runs are also completed in the Nimbus 26s. For tempo and quality sessions, Hoka Rocket X2s, as well as the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash, and my race shoe is the New Balance SC Elite V4. As someone training for a marathon, you will need apparel suitable to the conditions that you're training in. I myself have trained both in the summer and winter periods, having singlets for the summer when things are getting quite hot and steamy, and then long sleeve as well as running jackets in those colder months where I don't feel like getting out of bed. You'll soon discover that the washing machine becomes your best friend, almost doing a load every second day. However, it's good to invest in multiple pairs of your favorite apparel to use for your training. As someone who likes to see what running apparel other runners are using, I thought I'd do my very own run show to show you my favorite pieces of running apparel. Next on the list is quality pairs of running socks. Now, as you're going to be on your feet for quite a long time, it's important that you treat your feet with care by investing in good socks. This is to prevent any blistering or chafing from happening, as well as allowing your feet to breathe. Trust me, using casual socks that you may wear to work or out and about do not work well for marathon training. Next on the list is a running vest. When training for my first marathon, my biggest question was, how the heck am I supposed to carry all this fuel out there on a run? And with limited access to water on the tracks that I was running, where was I going to find water? That's when purchasing my first ever running vest that I still use today made the world of a difference for me. Having 2 soft flasks that I could fill with liquid at the front and ample storage space to store my gels, electrolyte tablets, and any other nutrition that I needed on my runs. And also a lifesaver, allowing me to store my little emergency pack in case of any dramas. The emergency pack is just toilet paper. Last on my list is anti-chafe cream, and as you really get further into your training plans and doing some serious amount of mileage, found that you'll soon discover where you're chafing and not realizing that places like that could even chafe. Personally, mine's a combination of chafing with my inner thighs sometimes, but also when wearing my running vest, usually just near my armpits as well. So you'll learn over the course of your training where some of those hot spots are. So would highly recommend some anti-chafe just so you can keep that discomfort at bay. As someone who's really struggled with nutrition both in my training but also when racing my marathons, have found that this is entirely an experiment to work out what exactly your body likes best. Especially if you are training for your first marathon, you will need to learn what it's like to take race nutrition. So I would highly recommend investing in a variety of running gels, but also choose just to see which fuel source works best for you. A majority of runners tend to use running gels as their primary fuel source for the marathon, but others will also use running chews and even real food sources such as gummy bears, snakes, or whatever kind of carbs sit well in their stomachs. In my experience and all of the trial and errors, I found isotonic gels work best for me. This is because the gels are water-based and it almost feels like you're just drinking a drink full of carbohydrates to keep you fueled. If you're someone like me training in warmer conditions like the incoming Australian summer, it is important that you maintain your electrolyte levels. I found electrolyte tablets to help me so much, particularly with maintaining my sodium levels as a heavy salty sweater. An additional fuel source can be carbohydrate drink mixes, and usually a lot of the pro runners will be using these during their marathons to fuel them. And it's a good chance to trial them if the course you're running on has a carbohydrate drink on the aid stations. For example, the second marathon that I ran had SAS carb drinks on the aid stations out on the course there, so trained with that exact flavor of carbohydrate drink mix to see if my body responded well to it, and it did. So this also helped me with not having to carry so much fuel on myself during the marathon. Carbohydrate drink mixes and electrolyte drink mixes can be very beneficial both pre and post training. Your body is going to be burning a lot of carbs over the course of your training, so it's important that you replenish those stores. Both carbohydrate drink mixes and electrolyte drink mixes make this very easy and not having to worry about stuffing yourself full of bagels to meet your carbohydrate intake requirements. Outside of training, you'll find you're going to be snacking a lot more. Now, I'm not gonna lie, after sessions during peak marathon training, I'm stuffing my face full of chocolate and bags of chips, which isn't the best form of carbohydrate intake. So would be mindful of the carbs that you are consuming and being sure that the snacks that you're having throughout the day are quite carb heavy. For me, that's Cliff Bars, yogurt, muesli bars, and even bagels throughout the day. Lastly is having carb heavy meals. These will replenish your carb stores after your training sessions, but also fuel you for the next one. In my experience, I haven't put an exact carbohydrate intake number that I'm trying to hit during my training. The only time I'll set an exact target is during the carb loading phase before a marathon race. So for me, meals looked like spaghetti bolognese, chicken and rice, and even anything with roasted or mashed potatoes. Again, it's a personal experiment, so find what works for you. So now, to put it all into a checklist. For the gear, we want a watch. For shoes, we want an easy pair of shoes, a quality and tempo pair of running shoes, as well as race shoes. Now, you can get away with 2 pairs and arguably using the quality and tempo run shoe also for your races. So getting us started with the apparel side of things, 3 shirts, 2 singlets, 2 long sleeve shirts, a running jacket, and 4 pairs of shorts or tights. When it comes to socks, we want around 8 pairs. We want 1 running vest to hold our water and nutrition out on our long runs, and a tube of anti-chafe cream. Obviously, with your nutrition, you will have to top it up eventually, but some good numbers to get you started out there for your marathon training include 10 packets of your gels or your chews, 10 electrolyte tablets, 1 tub of your electrolyte and carb drink mix. Snacks obviously going to be ongoing, as well as your carb heavy meals going to be an ongoing thing there. So I hope these checklists are a good guide on what you need to get started when it comes to your marathon training, both on the gear side of things, but also with your nutrition. So there we have it, friends, a guide to both gear as well as nutrition when it comes to your marathon training. Let me know down in the comments too if you feel like I've missed anything off of the list today. If you're currently training for a marathon or still contemplating signing up for one, I hope that your running is going well over on your side of the screen. I'm Jack, and I'll see you next time. Catch up.